गुरुरेव गति गुरुमेव भजे गुरुनैव सहास्मि नमो गुरवे न गुरुः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरोः मतिरस्मि गुरो मम पाहि गुरो सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नमः। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतः क्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेदमपेदकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकादर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तम् सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। सर्वेभ्यः नमस्कारः। Kapila Bhagavan was explaining about the creation, the Prakriti, the Purusha and the evolutes of Prakriti. In the last chapter, that is in chapter 26, he explained the Purusha, Prakriti and its evolutes. And in this chapter, that is in chapter 27, he is explaining about the Jiva, its bondage and liberation. Purusha is that beginningless Atma, infinite, all-pervading, and more than all that, it is supreme, Param, supreme than the Prakriti. It is not bound by Prakriti actually. It is far supreme than Prakriti. Because it is from the Purusha, instigated by time, the Prakriti itself became active. Prakriti is that subtle divine power existing in Purusha. And Prakriti is the constituents of three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And Purusha is supreme than Prakriti. Instigated by time and karma, the Purusha became aware of the Prakriti and the Prakriti lost its equilibrium of the three gunas and it began to evolve one after the other. The first evolute of Prakriti was Mahat-tattva. Then the second evolute was Ahankara. Ahankara expressed itself in three ways as Sattvika Ahankara, Rajasika Ahankara and Tamas Ahankara. From the Sattvika Ahankara came the Manas. From the Rajasika Ahankara or Taijasa came the Buddhi, Prana and the 10 Indriyas. From the Tamas Ahankara came the Tanmatras and the 5 Bhutas, that is the Pancha Bhutas. So after that it combined and evolved. Now the first evolute of Prakriti is Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva is that cosmic concept. It is an universal concept. And Chitta is the individual concept of Mahat Tattva. So the individual concept of Mahat Tattva is called Chitta. And Chitta is basically pure intelligence. And it is can be said as the yogis tell this as the mind stuff. It is of that nature. And Kapila Muni explains the Chitta as, he describes the Chitta as Swachatvam avikaritvam Shandattvamiti chetasah Vrittibhir lakshanam proktam Yathapam prakriti paraha. It is of the nature of pure satchatvam, that is pure nature. Avikaritvam, it doesn't modify, unmodified. And Shantatvam, it has the Sattva guna, very peace, calm, very pure, equal to pure intelligence. And the Chitta is represented, or the presiding deity of Chitta is Vasudeva, who is the first emanate of Bhagavan Vishnu. So pure is Chitta. And because of its Swachatvam, pureness, Avikaritvam, unmodified nature, and Shantatvam, because of its Sattva guna, it has the capacity, the Chitta has the capacity to reflect the Purusha as it is. So among all the evolutes of Prakriti, only Chitta has this capacity to reflect the Purusha as it is. Just like there are so many objects in this world, only mirror has that capacity to reflect our image as it is. That is why even in this modern time, we use mirror to see our form very clearly. So just like that, among all the evolutes of Prakriti, only Chitta has this capability or capacity to reflect the image, or the reflect the Purusha as it is. The reflection of the Purusha falling on the Chitta is called the Jiva. But the reflection alone cannot exist as it is. So there has to be a medium. So that reflection of the Purusha falling on the Chitta, along with that Chitta, is called the Jiva. In that way also you can say, or the reflection of the Purusha falling on the Chitta, that reflection is the Jiva. In the initial stage, this Jiva was so pure because it is the reflection of Purusha, and the Chitta was also pure. So the reflection, the Jiva was so pure. What happens is, because of the Maya nature of the Prakriti, because of it, the reflection which is falling on the Chitta, that is the Jiva, forgets its pure nature, or forget that it is the reflection of Purusha. It forgets its own nature and assumes the nature of Prakriti. And what does the Prakriti do? The Prakriti is actually insentient. It doesn't have any intelligence. Only because of this Jiva existing in Prakriti, or because of this Purusha existing in Prakriti, the Prakriti is active and intelligent and sentient. So what does this Prakriti assume? The Prakriti assumes the nature of Purusha. So there is this cross misidentification. The reflection of Purusha falling on Prakriti, which is called the Jiva, assumes the nature of Prakriti, and the Prakriti, that is the Chitta, it assumes the nature of Purusha. This happens. Now, what is the result of it? Because of this misidentification, the Jiva assumes or feels that it is limited, it is bound by Prakriti, and it is temporary. It feels like that. And what does the Prakriti think? The Prakriti thinks that it is intelligent and it is all. It feels like that. Now what happens is, this Jiva, it combines with Ahankara. And when it combines with Ahankara, it gets a feeling of individuality. It feels that I am separate, I am alone, I am individual. Like that it feels. And when it combines with the three expressions of Ahankara, for example, when it combines with the Sattvic Ahankara, it feels that I am an agent, I am the doer, I can do this. Like this, the Jiva will think. And when it combines with the Rajasic Ahankara, And when it combines with the mind, it feels that it thinks that I am creating these thoughts, I am this mind, and it identifies with the indriyas, it identifies with the pranas, and all this misidentification will happen. Actually, this manas and all this ahankara, everything are prakriti. They are insentient. Only because of this Purusha present in Prakriti, all these are active. But the Purusha thinks that I am this Prakriti and thinks that it identifies with the mind, it identifies with the senses and all that. And when comes to the tamasika ahangara, that is the tamas ahangara, when this jiva combines with it, it identifies with the body, which is very gross. Actually, this body is only matter, only earth matter. That is why when there are any deficiency in our body, vitamin deficiency in our body, we take that vegetables that are rich in that vitamins, because that vegetable absorbs that vitamin from the soil. All the elements and vitamins are there in the soil, but we cannot take that soil and eat just like Bhavan Krishna. So we use a medium, a vegetable, to correct that deficiency. Suppose if I have the deficiency of vitamin A, then I take the carrot which absorbs that vitamins from the soil, and when I consume it, my deficiency will be rectified. So this body is only a matter of earth. But when the jiva combines with the tamas ahangara, it assumes that it is the body. I am the body. That's why when someone pass a comment on our body, we get so irritated, so angry, thinking that they are hurting me. Actually, it is the prakriti, and it gets the support of jiva. The chitta, it not only has the capacity to reflect the Purusha or to hold the reflection of the Purusha, it also has the capacity to record our experiences. And that is what is said as the Sanchita Karma. And from that only a portion comes into effect as Prarabdha Karma. And the future karma which we are going to experience in the next birth is the Agami Karma. So the chitta also has the capacity to record our experiences and hold on to it, just like the magnetic strip in our card, debit card or credit card, like that. It has only the capacity to record the data, that is the record our experiences. But just like how we need a card reader to read that data, or otherwise this card magnetic strip will be of no use, isn't it? We need a card reader. So this card reader is just like the jiva. So what it does is the chitta records all the experiences. And what is more worse for the jiva is the jiva assumes or identifies with these sets of impressions. And that's all. The jiva is lost. It is in the whirlpool of impressions, whirlpool of samskars. Now, what happens is this jiva, to satisfy those impressions or to experience those impressions when it gets expressed, it takes repeated births and repeated death, everything it records or it experiences, the jiva experiences. The jiva, when it identifies with the body, it feels that when the body falls off, it feels that I am dead. And when it takes the another body, it feels that I am born again. So, like this, all this misidentification, actually, these impressions are insentient. Only because of this jiva, all these impressions became active. But the jiva forgets its nature and assumes that and identifies with all these. So the jiva takes repeated births and it faces repeated deaths, and it takes birth according to the quality of the impressions in the chitta. It may take the higher birth as Deva, a middle birth as human being, or the lower birth as in any animal or any insect. So, like this, it is caught in the whirlpool of these impressions. Now, the jiva is born by Prakriti or by Maya. Now, to be more precise and to be more clear, what is said by the yogis is even the chitta is universal. It is the individual aspect, and of course, that is true, but it is universal. And this chitta records the groups and groups of impressions. For example, one set of impressions were there and one form was there. When the pralaya comes, that form is dissolved and the set of impressions become latent impression and remains in Bhagavan, and it is recorded in the chitta. And in the pralaya, everything goes to Bhagavan, inside Bhagavan. During the next creative cycle, that impression as it is come outside. So this is the case of one jiva. Like this, there are millions and millions of impressions. So all those impressions are recorded in the chitta as group and group and group of impressions, or group and group of samskars. Now, another important thing is there is one Purusha. So the reflection falling on the chitta has to be one. How can there be hundreds of reflection from a single form? See, when I stand in front of a mirror, I can see the reflection of my form. This one, there will be one reflection. But if there are hundreds of mirrors, then what will happen? I can see hundred of my forms, hundreds of reflection. Some jewelry shop has this mirror arrangement. They have small mirrors, and when we stand in front of it, we can see hundreds of our reflection. So just like this, the reflection of Purusha falling on Chitta is only one. But when it falls on millions and millions groups of impressions, it appears as this jiva is divided. There are many jivas. It is an appearance, it is an act of Maya. For example, one of the famous Vedanta example is when we keep some hundred mud pots filled with water under the bright sun. So we can see hundreds of reflection of the Surya. On each pot, it will have one reflection of that Surya reflected in that water. So does that mean there are 100 sun? No, there is only one sun. And that reflection is falling on different mediums, and so it appears as 100 Suryas, 100 suns. And in Vedanta, the mud pot is compared with our body. The water is compared with the mind. If the mind is pure, that is, if the water is pure, then the reflection will be more clear. If it is muddy water, then the reflection will not be that clear, but the reflection will be there. So just like this, the chitta, it holds on many sets of impressions. That is, each set of impression is illumined by the reflection of the Purusha falling on it. Actually, the reflection of the Purusha, which is said as the jiva, is one, but when it falls on different sets of impressions, it appears as many. And each set of impression along with that reflection is said as the individual consciousness, that is the jiva. Now what happens is, and Kapila Muni explains this concept with a very beautiful shloka. Swayonishu yatha jyotir yekam nana pratiyate योनिनां गुणवैषम्यात् तथात्मा प्रकृतौ स्थितः. Just as one fire manifests as many according to the difference in the fuel. And so also the one supreme spirit abiding in the Prakriti manifests differently as innumerable centers of consciousness. So this chitta along with one set of impression, and the impression and the chitta, all those are Prakriti. And when I say Prakriti, you must remember that it is insentient. Only because of the Purusha existing in it in the form of reflection or in the form of Jiva, you can say it as Jiva, only because of that, that center becomes active and it becomes one center of consciousness, one Jiva. And like this, another set. So, like this, there are millions and millions and millions of forms, individual centers of consciousness. So, that is the Jiva. Now, what is to be liberated? For that, we have to understand what is bound. Is it the body, or is it the mind that is bound, or is it the buddhi? Mind and buddhi are the functions that act upon the impressions on the chitta. So, is the chitta bound and does it need liberation? Or is it the Purusha that needs liberation? Or is it the Jiva, that is the Purusha existing in Prakriti? Does it need liberation? Who does need liberation? The body, the mind, the buddhi, the chitta, all are evolutes of Prakriti. As I said, when I say Prakriti, you have to remember that all these are insentient and they get the power because of the Purusha is existing in them. So they don't need liberation. Then does the Purusha needs liberation? No, Purusha is already liberated. It knows its nature. Then who is bound there? Who is deluded by the Maya? It is the Jiva, that is the Purusha existing in Prakriti, or in the Vedantic terms, you can say the reflection of Purusha existing in the Chitta that needs liberation. So, how to liberate it? Only through this mind and buddhi. The mind and buddhi has to be pure, or the mind and buddhi, when it understands its nature, or when it tell that or educate that jiva that it is not its nature, then that is the liberation for the jiva. So Kapila Muni says, Tena samsara padavimavashobhyedya nivrutaha प्रासंघै कर्मदोषैः सदसन्मिश्रयोनिषु. The Prakriti does all the action because this Purusha is with it. The Jiva, due to its identification with the Prakriti, gets involved in the cycle of birth and death. And because this Jiva is embodied with the Prakriti and Maya, it is this Jiva is said as the embodied soul. So that Jiva needs liberation. It has to understand its own nature. Now, what is it the Jiva thing? When the mind worries or when the mind is involved in some sorrow or some misery, the Jiva feels that I am in dukkha. Actually, the Jiva is very peaceful, always bliss, and always happy, infinite. What are all applicable to Purusha is applicable to this Jiva also, because it is the reflection of the Purusha. The same thing as the Purusha, but it forgets its nature and assumes the nature of the Prakriti, which is insentient actually. So the Jiva has to understand that all these are of because of Prakriti and it's not my nature. So how does the Jiva understand it? Only through the mind and buddhi. It has to be educated that it is separate from all this Prakriti. Now, the Jiva has to understand that I am the Purusha. I am the reflection of the Purusha, and all this is Prakriti. I have come to help this Prakriti. I have come to make this Prakriti active. So there has to be a shift in consciousness. Now, what do we feel? I am this body, I am this mind, and we do not understand the concept of Purusha itself. Many are not aware of it. We think that I am this body, I am this mind. Actually, I am this Purusha existing in this body and mind only because I exist here. This body and mind is active. When the Jiva leaves this body, again this body fall off just like a log. That's why we keep it in fire. It will not have any consciousness because the center of consciousness has gone. So this the Purusha should, that is the Purusha existing in Prakriti, the Jiva should realize it. And it has to be educated only through the mind. When the mind becomes pure, when the mind understands its nature as that I am not Purusha, I am only Prakriti, by different ways, that is by bhakti or by knowledge or anything, then there will be a shift in this consciousness. Till then, what all we study, what all we earn knowledge, we may have many great degrees, we may be a great scientist or a great doctor or whoever it may be, whatever it may be, the degree may be, all these are mere insentient impressions. That's why the yogis, they care only for the jiva and not for the brain or buddhi or anything. All these, that is the set of insentient impressions, are useful for this materialistic world because it is a skill, and we live because of that skills only. We earn money because of those skills, but that is not the ultimate. It is only an insentient set of impressions which is powered by jiva, or which is illuminated by the jiva, that is the Purusha existing in Prakriti. So when the mind understands it, then the jiva gets detached from this body and mind complex. But the body mind complex will exist till the prarabdha karmas are over. But the jiva realizes that it is not this set of impressions, or it is not the Prakriti, and it abides in its pristine, peaceful glory state, blissful state. So this is what the concept of jiva, its bondage and liberation, explained by Kapila Muni in this chapter, that is chapter 27. And in the next chapters, he will explain how to educate the mind. What are all the different ways to make the jiva realize that it is Purusha and not Prakriti. That I will explain in my next upload. श्रीनारायणाखिल गुरु भगवन् नमस्ते. ॐ श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.